Hi, y'all. Welcome to your yoga practice. This practice is designed to be in the evening, kind of this bedtime wind down, more of a yin quality to this practice. I'm going to request that you grab your blanket, 2 blocks. I have socks on, a cozy sweater, whatever you want to set yourself up to hopefully go to sleep after this. So as we begin, it's going to be a table pose. And there will be plenty of time and quiet moments. So as you arrive in this initial table, just start to move through your spine. Whether that looks like cats, cows, it could be a few giant circles of your hips, a roll of your head. I'm going to give you a solid 10 rounds of breath-ish just to get a little bit of energy flowing before we work into these longer holds. And when I say longer holds, it's going to be like 2 to 3 minutes-ish. This opportunity to just gather information about your body. If you want one down dog for your practice, this would be the time to add that in. So you've got about 3 more rounds of breath to work your table variations. And if you want to stay here a little bit longer, just maneuvering around, it's like such a simple treat that you can just hit the pause button and tune back in whenever it works for you. Once you're satisfied with your table variations, find a seat, bring your legs in front of you, knees bent, feet a little bit wider than hip width, and as you bring your hands behind you, a lean back as you start to windshield wiper your knees, your shins side to side. And I want just a little bit more mobility, blood flow through the hips. You might scoot forward a little bit, some rotation in the spine. Again, if you find anything interesting here, don't hesitate to pause. Give it like 2 more each side. And again, if you want more space, then you hit the pause button. Once you balance out, setting up for a restorative Paschimottanasana, I like a blanket underneath my sit bones. That will allow the pelvis to slightly tilt forward so you find more length in the low back as well as space in your sacrum. Blocks can be really lovely here as well. Legs about hip width, a bend to your knees, and that could be as big or as small as you want it to be depending on how spacious your hamstrings and your low back feel today. Start by sitting tall. Inhale and draw up through the crown of your head. From here, exhale, crease at your hips as you fold over your legs. This is where those blocks in between your legs can be super useful to support your forehead. Very calming on the nervous system. And it's going to be a 2-minute hold in this symmetrical hamstring as well as a low back opener. I always have my stopwatch going to make sure that I am holding to what I'm saying. But if you are using those blocks, know that they come in different heights. So you can always Tetris your blocks in a way that supports you. And as time passes in this hold, you can always readjust the height of your blocks as well if you tend to find a little bit more space. And there's no forcing. We haven't spoken much about the breath yet. So as you give yourself, take another minute-ish, little bit longer here in this Paschimottanasana restorative variation. Start to tune into the steady rhythm of your breath. Observing how you're breathing, where you're breathing. And as you get acquainted with your breath this evening, without forcing. See if you can start to breathe a little bigger, a little slower, utilizing your breath to tap into the nervous system. And it's with your breath that you start to invite a sense of ease. Last 3 breath cycles. Those 2 minutes go quick. As you begin your transition out, press down into your hands, lift your torso, slide your blocks out of the way, but bring them to the back of your mat space so you have them close by. Scoot yourself forward off of your blanket. Slide that to the back end of your mat as well. You may want to use that here shortly. And as we lie down, you will arrive on your spine with your knees bent, your feet planted flat on your mat. Grab for one of those blocks, please. As I mentioned earlier, your blocks come in 3 heights. I'm going to offer the lowest setting. Press into your feet, lift your hips, slide your block underneath you right at your sacrum. It's that flat triangular bone at the base of your spine. So you might have to find that location, right? That's just right. It's right above your tailbone, your sacrum. And once your pelvis is supported, little snuggle of your shoulder blades closer together so you've got more room for your heart. And let's start to open up the front line of the body, especially if you've been sitting most of the day. We'll start by hugging your right knee in towards your right shoulder. It's a gentle squeeze there. And your left leg, go ahead and start to slide your left leg long towards the front end of your mat. And this could be it, right? You're lengthening your tailbone towards your left heel. That'll give you a little bit more space in the lumbar spine. Next choice would be to reach your left arm up overhead so you find this long line of energy from your left toes all the way to your fingertips. I'm going to start my stopwatch again for our 2-minute hold. And if you don't like the right leg where it is, know that you can always set your right foot down to your mat with a bend in your right knee, a little bit more passive. You can even explore what happens when you point your left toes, when you flex your left foot. And you settle into the variation that is just right for you this evening. And then you start to tap into your breath. And the focus being space in the front line of the body as well as the left side. So being intentional, see if you can focus on filling up the left hemisphere of your body with breath. You are inviting space from the inside out, sending fresh oxygen, cleansing. You're at about that halfway point. Even allowing the features of your face to soften, your eyes to soften. How much space can you invite in the left side of your body? And as we begin our transition out, it's step by step. If you have your left arm long, bring that in. If you're still working with your right knee in towards your right shoulder, set your right foot down to your mat. And rebend your left knee. Slide your left leg in. Plant your left foot flat to your mat. And just a few moments here to tune in to see if your sides feel different at all. And let's go ahead and find some symmetry. So initially, left knee in towards your left shoulder. Step by step, slide your right leg long. Start by flexing your right foot. See how this feels. That subtle adjustment of lengthening your tailbone towards your right heel now, so you have more space in the back body. Maybe you reach your right arm up overhead. If you decide that, like, I don't want to work this hard, right? It's been a long day, whatever the situation might be, with a bend in your left knee, set your left foot down to your mat. Again, the stopwatch is going. It's equal amount of time on the second side. And the conversation becomes how long and spacious can you get in the right hemisphere now? It's from your fingertips to your toe tips, even exploring if you want the right foot to be flexed or the toes pointed. Could be somewhere in between. And then being intentional about sending your breath over to the right side of your body. And always, if it comes over you at any point, it could be your open mouth sigh. The breath can be audible. It's not too much longer on the second side. Just focusing on your breath. Inviting space in the right hemisphere, the right side of your body. And giving yourself permission to soften. Last few moments. And again, we transition out step by step. Bring the right arm down as needed. If you're still drawing your left knee in towards your left shoulder, set your left foot down to your mat. Slide your right leg in. And again, it's these 3 to 5 rounds of breath in this symmetrical supported bridge to tune in. And as we make our way off of this block, press into your feet, lift your hips, remove your block, and set your hips back down to your mat. I'm going to suggest grabbing for your blanket, placing it in between your legs. Arms open to a T shape. As you press into your feet, scoot your hips a little bit to the right. So your hips are off center on your mat. And you will take your knees up and over to the left. And depending on your anatomy, maybe you fold up that blanket a few times. Maybe you utilize a block as well. If you have a bolster available to you, totally fine. And just supporting yourself in this twist. Shoulders are anchored. And as your low body turns to the left, your upper body turns to the right. Maybe you even gaze that direction as well. And staying consistent. 2 minutes here also. Stopwatch has already been going. Working with gravity. This is where you soften, release, surrender, practice letting go, which can sometimes be more challenging. And if sleep comes over you at any point, Just go with it. Or maybe it's a matter of tuning in and out. More than halfway. The transition out, being unhurried. Go ahead and gradually bring your knees, your hips back to center. And then it's that same scooch now, but your hips to the opposite direction, to the left. You take your knees up and over to the right. Again, arms open up. You are broad across your chest. Gaze can be straight up or off to the left, depending on what's going on with your neck. If it feels intuitive, you can close your eyes. Maybe you soften your gaze. But as you have equal amount of time on the second side, tendency being for the mind to wander in the quiet moments, just find your breath. And as you breathe in, know that you breathe in. As you breathe out, know that you breathe out. And at this point in our practice, the exhale in particular, drawing your focus, your awareness there, as it's the breath out that releases tension. And as previously mentioned, working with the nervous system. Exhale, calming, cooling, bringing you more into that parasympathetic place, which is conducive to rest. And maybe you drift in and out of sleep, totally fine. Final moments here on our second side, about 5 breath cycles. And as you go ahead and return your knees, your hips back to center, take that blanket out from in between your thighs or whatever prop you might have. Feet a little bit wider, that windshield wiper of your knees, your shins side to side. I'm going to offer one last pose. That blanket, you can place that underneath your head as a pillow. And your 2 blocks that are handy, go ahead and grab for those. It's going to be a reclined Baddha Konasana butterfly, so Supta Baddha Konasana. And once you're satisfied with those windshield wiper motions, soles of your feet together, knees wide. If you want to slide a block under each thigh bone for a little bit extra support in your hips, sometimes even placing those blocks at a diagonal can be a little bit more supportive. Again, you bring the shoulder blades a little closer together, a slight lift of your hips to lengthen your tailbone towards your heels. From there, palms are open, receptive. 2 minutes. Allow your eyes to soften, to settle heavy into your sockets. Even your jaw, a little wiggle of the bottom jaw. Gentle parting of your lips. And as you widen your jaw, you separate top, bottom rows of teeth. Next, swallow, even allowing your tongue to fall away from the roof of your mouth. And as you strive to settle into this state of relaxation, it's feeling fully supported and held by the earth beneath you. Then from here, gradually just sliding your legs along for your final rest. This is where I will leave you. Maybe it's a matter of crawling your way into bed or staying right where you're at. And as we honor and seal these quiet moments together, it's a shared breath. Big inhale as you fill up. Open mouth release. Rest well. Namaste, yogis.